Hello, my name is Ethan Sonnenstrahl. Right now I'm working as an assistant for the Attorney General here at the office. Obviously I'm deaf and I use American Sign Language as my mode of communication. I'm using an interpreter who's sitting right across from me. He is voicing for me today. I represent two agency clients, the Maryland School for the Deaf and the ODHH, Office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing here in Maryland. Growing up though, I didn't realize that I was deaf or different. I used to watch cartoons on Saturday mornings, as a lot of children did. Before I started paying attention to closed captions, I would just look at the characters and just try to imagine what's going on. Basically, I was creating a whole story on my own with these characters. I was very fortunate though to start reading at a young age, and I started to learn what the characters' connections were and their interactions were with English, with those black and white letters on screen. I finally started to understand what they were saying and what the interactions meant, and started to engage with the stories on TV instead of imagining things up in my head. That's really when I started to participate with the world at large. I knew that there were hearing people outside of my world and my realm. However, I lived in a different space with deaf people. I grew up seeing hearing people, but with very limited or no interaction. Going to a deaf school, having a deaf family, I created the environment that I needed. I started attending the Maryland School for the Deaf in preschool. My parents took me to school every day at that point, and I remember very vividly I was shy, leaving my family. At home I was very comfortable, and starting to go to school, meeting new people. I think any introvert will agree that is very scary. However, I did have a wonderful experience at MSD. Everybody knew sign language. I met new friends, teachers that I could communicate with directly. It was a lot easier to make friends that way. I stayed at MSD almost all of my educational years. Growing up, I often had debates with my peers, my siblings, my friends, and I always questioned my teachers. I would ask why, challenge their rules. That personality builds a great lawyer, right? Being able to challenge other people, finding out why, what rules apply to the situation. I recognized how important law is in our daily lives. We have our rights, access, all because of law. And I realized that law is something I wanted to do, to give back to my community. I've been working for just 1 year now. I was hired back in September of 2023. During this time, I've been working on different topics and different projects. The majority of my work is with the Maryland School for the Deaf. They are actually a state agency responsible for all deaf children's education in Maryland. Part of that responsibility is meeting students' needs under the IDEA Act, the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. Every student must have an IEP, an individualized education plan that tailors to their needs. I have been consulting with MSD through this process. I often tell everyone it requires a village to raise a child, and my village was the Maryland School for the Deaf. To give back in this way is incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. It is a great honor. Every day I think about the students who are currently attending MSD and how I can commit services to those students, meet the MSD's responsibilities under state law. These are things I ponder. I try my best to help the community and give back. My top piece of advice is just say hello, good morning, sign it, don't be afraid. There's always a way we can connect with deaf and other disabled people. We're all human, just like you. It's very easy to communicate with me. it may not be as difficult as you expect. You can even communicate with me through your cell phone. You know the Notes app? You can transcribe using that app. All you have to do is say, hello, good morning. It'll make someone's day. Maryland itself is a quilt of a lot of different communities sewn together. All these communities have their own culture, language, history, and varying needs. The deaf community in particular in Maryland needs a deaf school. They need a fit into the community. They need access to movies. We go to your restaurants. We go to your parks. Are these places accessible for deaf Marylanders? That's the question we have to ask ourselves every day. In doing my part, I thank Maryland for having a great deaf school for deaf Marylanders. I am a product of this schooling system, and I see Maryland truly cares for deaf individuals in this state. Any type of issues, there's always someone else in the AG's office who can help. And the end result is MSD gets the legal services it deserves. Other communities in the state of Maryland should get the same respect, acknowledgement, and treatment.